So hello everyone, I'm Susanna and welcome to my channel for our conversation of today. I guess we all know more or less that the real source of suffering is the mind. And one of my favorite Ayurveda teachers, David Frawley, was saying that the entire life is but a struggle to master the mind. So if there is a place where we should be looking for answers and solutions or for inspiration, is in there. And this is what I would like to do. We're going to explore the inner universe of Danielle Barnett. She's a clinical therapist and NLP master practitioner. And if I miss anything, please add. And also she's the lead singer for the world famous #1 chart act, Urban Cookie Collective. Wow. So how does it feel when you're on a scene? And first of all, how come you got there? How come you got to do this?
I've been the front singer for Urban Cookie Collective for nearly 25 years now.
Wow.
And I'm still gigging to this day. Obviously, the pandemic has stopped everything. And
yeah.
Over 60 gigs in this year, over 60 gigs. And I'm talking about in front of thousands of people each time, you know, so big gigs. And obviously everything's stopped. But I'm focusing on what I love at the moment, so which is my therapy and my NLP and helping as many as I can at the moment. And all the gigs are just getting rescheduled to later on. So I'm using this as a really valuable time for me to enhance who I am and to get my message and everything that I love, and to try and spread a little bit of positivity and help to those really that need it. But my story started, as I say, I mean, I was at school and I always used to love singing. And I was told that I wasn't allowed in the choir. My music teacher said that I wasn't good enough. So my love of singing was almost battered down at school, battered down by my music teacher. But I was a songwriter as well. And he wouldn't even let me sing my own songs that I wrote in assemblies. He made someone else sing them. He didn't want me to sing. So obviously, me being me, I left school, or I got asked to leave from my school, and I went to become a singer because I could prove to the whole world that I could do it. And that's when my journey started. I used to go to nightclubs when I was a little underage. Not that I endorsed that or anything. I used to go there, and then there was one night that I was in a nightclub, and there was a PA on stage, and it was the singer Strike, and it was a 90s singer, and her band name was called Strike, and it was a song called You Sure Do. And I remember going into the club and seeing this vibrant, vivacious woman with a big feather boa on stage, just singing this song, and I was like mesmerised by her. And I was only young, you know, and I was like, my gosh, I want to be you. I want to be you. And that was the point that I set my goal. That was my vision. I was going to be her. I was going to do what she did. And the irony is that after all these years, I've been working with her, alongside her. You know, she is doing what I do. So, yeah. Dreams come true. So I went and I actually got my first ever, I did a couple of little record deals with smaller labels, and I recorded my own music and was writing my own things, and I got my first ever big break with a big Capital Radio, which was a big radio station in England, on their circuit. And we started doing gigs, and I remember standing at my side of the stage in my first ever gig that I'd done. And it was 3,000 people, and it was in the Hippodrome in London. And I stood by the side of the stage, and I absolutely was just petrified. But I thought to myself, do you know what? If I can do this, I can do anything. So I took a deep breath. I breathed it all in. I let it all go. I got up on that stage, and as soon as I started doing my set, everyone just reacted. The energy was wonderful, and I just got all that confidence, and I breathed it all in, and I was like, that was flipping incredible. And I got off stage and I thought, that's it, that's all I want, that's what I do for the rest of my life. I want to do this. And that started my journey. So I've been doing Urban Cookie Collective, as I say, nearly 25 years now. And I had my first ever record deal with a major label, which was RCA Records. And Simon Cowell was my A&R, my artist recognition man. And we were building up for a year to a massive release of this big summer song we were doing. And literally, we had the National Lottery TV. I'd been in all the big magazines. I'd double page spreads. I was on like Sky and all the boxes. music channel, MTV. I had the lot. I was in Ibiza, all of these amazing things. And I was like, wow, I'm famous. Woohoo, all of this stuff. Because when you're young, that's really important, isn't it? But now I'm older, the fame does not bother me in the slightest. You know, it's the energy I get. That's why I do it now. I love people. But at that time, that's what was important. You know, the glitz, the glamour. Oh, a different world it really is, I tell you. But anyway, and so I did that. And then a week before my record was meant to be released, I had the National Lottery TV show booked, which was a big show in England, and it had over 15 million viewers every week. And my name was in the paper, I was going on it, this was it. And a week before my record release, Princess Diana sadly died that night. And it was the night before my lottery release, and Elton John took my slot on the National Lottery with Candle in the Wind, because that was my week. And on the Monday morning, the record got shelved, and I lost everything that I'd worked for, all my dreams crashing to the ground. And I didn't know who I was anymore, because I was like, everything that I believed, everything that I wanted, it was just gone. Like in the blink of an eye, completely out of my own control. And I was floored. I didn't know what to do. And after a few days of licking my wounds, I really did, I thought to myself, I never want anyone to feel like how I feel right now. Never. And so that was my motivation, and it led me into management, and I started to manage bands. And I had a lot of success in managing bands. We did #1 in Asia albums, top 5s in the UK, #1 albums. We had this like massive songs in Australia, like huge, really successful bands. One was called Point Break. It was a boy band, and we did really well with them. And then another one was called Free Faller, and did really well with them. And at the same time, I'd been offered to front Urban Cookie Collective, because my producer for my Simon Cowell record was the writer for The Key, The Secret. I've got the key, I've got the secret. So at that time, Diane Charlemagne, who was the original singer, the very original singer, and she was a wonderful lady, and she actually sang the backing vocals on my single that was meant to be coming out through RCA. So I'd met her way before. Lovely lady. But she'd left Urban Cookie, and she was going on tour all over the world with like Moby and Goldie and touring. And so Rowan came to me and asked if I wanted to front it after my record had, you know, gone. And I was like, do you know what? It's passion, it's my love. I love it too. So right, I'll do it. And that was it. And from then on, I became the lead singer for Urban Cookie Collective. And I managed the bands and did my singing, and that led me to today. And today I'm doing the most amazing, incredible gigs in front of 15,000 people every weekend. And the energy is incredible. So
how does it feel? I want to know how it feels from within you. Like when you're there on the scene.
Well, it's everything. So it's like, I love the build up for it. I love the traveling to it. I love getting there and then the getting ready. I love meeting everyone that's working behind the scenes, and just the connections, and the buzz, the vibe, the smell, you know, the magic, the lights, the haze, the sound, the people, the connection, and the energy. And when you're doing that famous song that everyone knows, that they're singing it along with you, and there is no other feeling comparable to that, because we are all 15,000 people and me on one energy, and that energy is just electric and love, and it's a fabulous feeling. You're just up, and to be with the crowd that size and to have that connection is a truly magical thing. It's a very truly magical thing. Yeah.
So how would you extrapolate that, for instance, into without music? Do you see any other possibility to create the same connection, you with other 15,000 people?
Well, I do speaking as well. I'm a public speaker, motivational speaker as well. So I have that connection as well. I travel all around the world and I do my talks, and yet again, I have that connection with people. So it's just sharing my story and just helping people to realise that everything is possible for them. And that connection, even on a one-to-one level as well, when I do my therapy, and when I do when I help people to get to where they want to be, because they do it themselves, obviously, but I can guide them. And when I can do that, and I get that reaction, I can see the look in their eyes, and I can see their whole persona and their whole bodies just changes from protection, you know, like fear, into openness. That is the same magical feeling as what I get in front of 15,000 people, because it's my heart, and it connects with my heart. So both are so important to me. They're the same connection, just in different ways.
And how do you know? How do you recognize that? How do you recognize that? Yes. It's that connection with your heart.
It's a feeling of love, and it's a feeling of openness, and it's a feeling of success. It's a feeling of that feels so good. It just feels so good. It just feels great. Yeah. And it's a calm. It's almost a calm, but an excitement as well. And it's like a knowing that I'm on the right road in my life. You know, because it's just smooth.
Well, how do you know that you know? How do you recognize that knowing?
I know that I know because I'm feeling in the flow. But there's no resistance. I'm just traveling a road, and I can see just straight in front of me, and I'm calm and I'm flowing. I'm going on my mission in life. That's why I'm here. I feel it. I just feel it, and I know when I don't know as well. I know when I'm not on that path as well, because it feels the opposite, and the friction, and my whole body stops. If I'm doing something that does not feel right to me, or it's not in my flow, everything just stops. My whole neurology and my whole body just almost feels prickly, and it feels the opposite of love. It doesn't feel hate. It's not hate, but it feels the opposite of love. It feels almost fearful. It's almost a fearful feeling. If I'm not going on my flow and I'm doing something that doesn't feel right to me, then I'm fearful because I'm detracting to my path in life. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. So it's the absence of love, actually.
Empty.
Emptiness.
But it's not even emptiness, because I feel it. Because emptiness is feel nothing. And I feel when I'm not on my flow, and I feel when I'm not doing what feels good to me, you know? And I just feel it in my legs and in my belly and in my throat and my heart, and everything tenses, and my shoulders, and just everywhere. It's just stopping me. My whole body just stops me, you know? And if I fight it, it's never a good outcome. I have to listen to my guide, to myself, and to my soul. I have to listen to my flow.
Absolutely, yeah. And what do you trust beyond all that?
Connection. And I know whether, if I'm with someone and talking to someone, if they're on my energy level or if they're not, if they're sucking me dry of energy, which I won't allow, and I'll just let them carry on with their energy. But I know completely, connection to me is the most powerful thing in the entire world. Connection and love. Because without those two things, to me, there wouldn't be a point to my life. That's what it's all about for me.
Why do you think you're here, Danielle, on this planet?
To spread the light, be the light, to get others to be the light, to get those little, you know, that, have you seen that advert, you know, where they light the match, yeah, and they're talking about the corona, but they light the match and it stops where one match has fallen down, because they're talking about the social isolation. That light that spreads to the 1,000 matches, and if one's still standing up and it's all spreading to everywhere, I want to be that light. I want to be the love virus.
You want to be the love virus. I love that. And why is that important? Why is that important to you? What would that bring you?
It's not even what it will bring me. It's what I feel that I'm here for. It's to give people a way to move forward and to not be stuck in a place where they feel they can't move forward, because life does throw the most incredible things at you, and also the most painful things and troubling things at you at the most times that you don't expect it. You know, just when you think that you're going with the flow, something can happen and change your direction. And the thing is, it's to be open to what is around us and to notice the little signs and the little things, because they're the important things, they're the big things. Because if you zoom out on a situation and you look into it, you think to yourself, is this going to be important in a year's time? So say, like, I'll give you an example. My son goes to school. I'm a mum, and my son's 10, and he goes to school. And when all the virus pandemic took off, everything in my body was telling me to get him out of the school. Everything in my body, that whole feeling that I was telling you about when I'm not on my flow, that was happening. And I thought to myself, and my mum and dad and my sister, they're all like, listen to the government, listen to do what you're told, this, right? But everything in my body was saying, get him out, he needs to be with me now. So I stood there, I didn't stood there, I was lying in my bed and I was struggling with this. And I thought, if I do what everyone else is telling me to do, the same with the MMR jab, I can go into that in a minute. But if I do what everyone else is telling me to do, then I'm feeling like this. But my true want is to get him with me, to keep him safe. So I thought, if in a year's time, and I look back on this situation, is this going to be important if I take him out of school a week early? And I thought, no. I thought, in 5 years' time, if I look back at this point, is this a significant point? If I take him out of school, is this going to be significant to take him out of school right now? I thought, no. So I got that release. I thought, I'm taking him out of school. So I did. So a week before everyone else came out of school, I went with my flow. I trusted my gut and I took him out because it felt like I had to do it. I felt like I had to do it. And then 5 days later, everyone was taken out of school. But you see, myself and my son have autoimmune conditions. So for me, it's not just a healthy young child necessarily. I mean, he's healthy and he's young and it is my child. But, you know, I've been through a lot of stuff with him. So based on my past experiences, I wanted him with me. And the same thing with the MMR jab, because I'll tell you about that too. Everything in my body, when he was about to have the MMR jab, was telling me to try and get separates. I tried to get the measles and the mumps and the rubella jab separately. Because everything in my body, that whole feeling again, was just telling me to stop, don't do it, right? So I tried to get the separates and you couldn't get separates. You could get the separate measles one. I think you could get a separate mumps one, but that was in France, but you couldn't get the rubella or something like that. You could get 2 of them, but you couldn't get the 3.
The 3, yeah.
The 3, the separates. You could only have it together in the MMR. So I thought to myself, I didn't want it. Everything was saying no, but the whole of my family was saying, don't be so silly, get it done, there's nothing wrong, everyone's getting it done. And we've got a doctor in our family as well, who's a distant cousin, and she'd phoned up and she said, don't be so silly, get it done, it's like really irresponsible if you don't, you know, all these things. So I gave in and I went, okay, and we went and we got the MMR done. And 24 hours after getting the MMR done, he was in an ambulance in a coma for 6 weeks at Great Ormond Street Hospital, because he reacted to it. Now, to me, call it intuition, call it mother's instinct, call it whatever you want to call it, but I had a feeling and I didn't follow my gut. I wasn't strong enough. I didn't feel strong enough to follow my gut at that time. Now, I'm not saying that this is right for everybody, and I'm not saying that not to take vaccinations. I'm not saying that in the slightest. But for me, that feeling was right. And it just, because it wasn't on my flow, and that happened. So I went through a lot of pain at that time. Thank the Lord a million times he's healthy. And I got told the worst. I got told the worst by the doctors, you know. So I'm so grateful for every second of every day I have with him. So that's why, and it counts so much.
when I hear you talk about that, it looks like there is a choice to follow or not to follow this instinct. What do you think?
Well, there's a choice. There's always a choice. Everything in life, you have a choice. But whether you go with your instinct or whether you go against your instinct, that's the choice.
But what's your experience? Like, how do you get yourself to follow that intuition?
That's a very good question, because for me, it's all about courage and being able to stand up.
Courage. Mm-hmm.
Being able to stand up for what you believe in. Because it was only since I took my NLP course and I studied the NLP and then I became an NLP master. It's only since then that I actually got my self-worth, because I'd done all these amazing things, but for many, many years, I had no self-worth because I was so bullied at school. I was very badly bullied, and I was bullied by the teachers and the students. So I grew up where my voice didn't count and I wasn't worth anything at that time, you know. So my voice and all my feelings and all my intuition, that self-worth wasn't there. But now, after the NLP, I have the tools that I need to be able to know that if I zoom out and I look back at this, is it important? You know, I've got the tools that I need to help me and others that I love and others that need it to get through these situations. But all it takes is self-worth and courage. And everyone is capable of self-worth and courage and trusting your heart, your soul, because your guidance system, just trust.
But that's unbelievable what I'm hearing now. I mean, you have all this success and you still have this lack of self-confidence. How is that possible? Make us understand.
I don't have any more. I don't have
no, but not now anymore, but before.
See, the thing is, though, I didn't appreciate how successful I was because I never thought I was good enough. It kept me pushing almost to keep achieving because I could get this, because I wanted to get this, because I had to prove myself. I had to prove myself to the whole world that I was good enough. And I had to prove to myself that I was good enough. But I was never good enough to myself. So it kept me pushing even more and even more. You know, and I think that's what it is. And because I was bullied as well, I learned how to use my personality and who I was as a person, because I didn't look the same as everybody else when I was growing up. I was 15 stone when I was 15 years old. I had acne. I had very curly, permed, bad hair. I didn't wear the most fashionable clothes, let's put it that way. You know, and I didn't really blend in. I wasn't like everybody else. I wasn't like in the cool crowd, and I didn't fit in anywhere, and I almost got ignored. So I had to develop who I was as a person, to almost a comedy being, to fit in a crowd, you know, and that's who I became. So I developed that entertainment side of me whilst I was going through this adversity. So yes, adversity did build me up. But my gosh, I'm so grateful to NLP to calm me down and sort me out.
What was the first thing that happened when you realized that you had to do something about it, or just a natural process leading you to that acceptance and self-confidence?
My self-confidence. I got to the point where my body started like really, really failing. As in, like I have hypothyroidism, which is autoimmune, and I've got Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition, and my thyroid, everything that I was doing, my singing and my speaking, it causes other problems in your body as well, these things. And everything that I was doing when I was singing and speaking, it was like razor blades on my throat. It was awful. And all this time I was giving out love, trying to heal the world, but there was no love for myself. And it got to the point where I thought I was so drained, physically, mentally, spiritually, the whole lot, that I had to find myself. And so when my son was 1 year old, his dad left me a week before his first birthday. And that firstly put me on a path to where I became, you know, who I was again and who I loved again. And I went through Reiki every week. You know, Reiki healing, every week I did that. I listened to chanting and mantras every morning. I set schedules for myself, and I really took the time to get better, like heal spiritually and emotionally. And then obviously the MMR happened the year later. And when myself and his dad were sitting around his hospital bed, hearing the worst, I realised that it wasn't about me and him in a fight, because I never stopped him from seeing Ethan, even when we'd broken up. I never stopped that because, you know, it was important for him to have his dad in his life. But I always felt that pain. Every time I saw him, I felt pain. I felt loss. I felt all of these negative emotions. But when Ethan, God bless him, was lying in that hospital bed and I was sitting side by side with his dad around the bed and I'm looking at him, I realised that this wasn't about me, this was about Ethan. And at that point, I let it all go. I let it go. And I realised that he loved Ethan, I loved Ethan. That was the connection. And at that point, nothing else mattered. Just nothing else mattered. So that did me the biggest favour, really. So I let it all go. And that started me on my healing route to find who I really was. And I'm very grateful for every day that I have. And I started doing some charity work in Bulgaria with orphanages, and we took the orphans on holiday for a couple of weeks in Bulgaria. And it was a wonderful experience, and I was healing people all the time, and I started looking at volunteering with Great Ormond Street Hospital and went through that, and all of this time I was feeling drained, so I thought I need the tools to stop feeling drained so I can do what I do, but like with something to help me too. And that's when I found NLP, and that's when I learned NLP, and that was magic.
Like, how did you find NLP?
Yeah, I found it through a friend of mine. I'd never even heard of NLP, and she said to me, she's actually a very spiritual person as well, and she said to me, she goes, "You'd really like NLP, Danielle." I said, "NLP? What's that?" And she goes, "You need to look into it." She said, "Look into it. I think that you're going to love that." I went, "Okay." So I looked into it. I read about it. I started watching videos. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need to learn this." And then I started, and then I did the course, and then I did the face-to-faces, and then I did the whole studying, and I became the practitioner. And then I loved it that much that I became a master practitioner a couple of years later. And that was it.
Your journey is fantastic. So what can, looking back at it, where we are today now together, what is, do you think, for you, the wisdom that you extract from it, that you can gather throughout all these years, that we can actually tune into right now?
Trust your inner self. And if you are struggling with patterns in life, fix them, because everything just falls into place then. There's absolutely no need to struggle. There's no need to struggle, because everything that we do is based on past experiences and past traumas. So have the courage to ask for help. Have the courage to dig deep and trust your route. Have the courage to go back and fix it. Fix yourself, fix that trauma, and move forward, because everything is possible. Everything is possible.
What have you started to be able to do that you were not able to do before?
For me personally, it's just the fact that I don't get drained.
You don't get drained.
I don't get drained, and I've got the tools to help people visualize their picture that they're seeing and to change it and to get rid of it if need be. So that, to me, it's the ability to stay in the present, to deal with things, the now state, which is so important to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's a powerful state to be able to get yourself in the present and deal with anything that's thrown at you from a present tense rather than from fear and anxiety. So that, to me, has been so valuable to be able to do that.
Do you have any other shortcuts to being in the present?
Focus. It's literally, thoughts come and go. They always do.
Yes.
But it's noise. So if you just set your intention and purely focus on what's important in front of you and allow the noise, it's there, that will bring you into the present, because that's where you are right now and that's what you need to focus on.
So set the intention. I like that.
Yeah.
So if you were the goddess of the now state, if you're the goddess of being present, and I was your humble student, and I am, what would you teach me? What would be the first thing for me to do?
Breathe.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I breathe. And then what do I do?
To calm down, focus on the breathing, to look at a spot on the wall or on a light switch or anything You know, this is to get into the now state. Look at a spot, focus on a spot, and realise that you can see the peripherals, the ceiling and the floor, whilst you're looking at that spot, the ceiling and the floor and all the peripheral vision, and expand that even wider and wider, and you're still looking at that spot on the wall. You're still noticing the breathing, and whilst you're still breathing in, you're noticing the ceiling, the floor, the peripherals. Further into the streets, you can also hear little noises, anything that's going on apart from my voice, any noises, a whir of a fan, the TV, a child talking, the birds singing in the background, all the little things that are going on around you. And you're still noticing that you can see the ceiling, the floor, the peripherals, and the breathing. And then you start noticing that you can feel your feet. They're in your socks or your shoes, and they're touching the hard floor beneath you. Your hands are either touching your legs or the material, the feel of the material in your fingers, and you can feel the hairs on your head, every follicle of your body. You can feel your skin even breathing, and you can still hear the birds singing, and the TV in the background, and the ceiling, the floor, the peripherals, the breathing, and my voice. And whilst you're doing all that, it's very hypnotic, and we just literally go into the present tense. And then from this state, you can deal with anything that's thrown at you, because there's no anxiety and there's no fear. It is just right now.
What your soul came into this world with. Or just simply say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Perseverance.
Perseverance? What were you dreaming of when you were little? Like, what were you hoping for? Have you ever dreamt of this career in music?
Yeah, actually, when I was really young, I wanted to be a vet. There's an idea I had for the Egyptian donkeys that I tried to get out there to try and save the Egyptian donkeys, going back a few years ago now. And I tried a massive thing with the Egyptian government and trying to get them on board, because on the Nile, there's a source of water, and the Nile cruises that go down there, all the people that go on these Nile cruises, they don't want to use the donkeys because they're treated so badly. And I saw some horrible things, you know. So I thought if the tourists could buy the animals food and water from each of the stops on the Nile, that the donkeys and everything could go there to feed. It wouldn't cost the Egyptians anything. The tourists would feel like they're doing a good thing, you know. And it would be like a little cycle. So the food would be brought from the village, the water from the Nile would be purified, and it would be a way for the animals to get healthy, and then the people would want to use the animals and stuff. So I tried very hard to get this out. It was such an easy thing to implement into what they were doing, but nobody would help. In fact, I contacted charities, horse charities, donkey charities. Nobody would listen. No one would help. But that's always been my intention. One day in my mind, that I will try and do everything in my power to help those animals out in Egypt and all over the world, because it's a simple concept that can be applied to different areas. But yeah, that was my intention.
Yeah, so it's a sort of a combination then between having this very sensitive, in a good sense, heart, like loving heart and caring heart, and perseverance in going out there and doing it. Because I believe when I work with people in the coaching sessions, many people know what they want, but they don't get into that perseverance, into that I don't give up. So where do you think that comes from, and how can we tap into your perseverance, like that doing? And another question is, how do you pass from thinking of something and actually doing it?
If I look at the end goal, it's almost too much. I can visualize what I want and how I see it at the end, and just know that I will get there. But to get there is a series of goals.
Tell me how you manage your day, like when you have an objective.
Write a list.
Do you give a deadline for that?
I give myself a deadline, but only for the important things. Okay. If it's something that's not so important, then it doesn't matter. It can wait till the next day. So the most important thing's at the top. And I never beat myself up. If I don't do anything, if I don't do something and it was important, then I'll do it the next day. Because if I'm not feeling that point that day, then I'm not feeling that point. And I won't be able to do it very well anyway if I don't feel good. So tomorrow's a new day. It's a new blank page, a new start. Perseverance.
That's the perseverance. So to you, what does it feel like?
No, it's not feeling the body for me. For perseverance, it's kind of like It's a challenge. It's a challenge to myself. And it's a goal. It's a goal and a challenge. And seeing a bigger picture and knowing that without doing these steps, I can't get to that picture. So it's not even something that's thought about, really. It's the fact that this needs to be done. And it's okay if it's done tomorrow, if I'm not feeling it today, but this needs to be done to get to that stepping stones. You have to climb the ladder to get to the top. You have to climb the mountain to get those views. And that's what I do, step by step by step by step. Because if you look at that mountain and you think you're climbing up that mountain, it's too much. You can't even look at it like that because it's just too much.
It's overwhelming. Yes.
Yeah. But if you take it 5 steps at a time, 5 steps at a time, have a drink. That if I've got the vision, I'll be guided to the right path anyway. And then I'll know what I need to do to get to that path.
How do you know what you need to do?
Because it's a fact. I can't get to there without doing A, B, C or D, because it's not going to come to me. I have to go to it. But I will be guided on my route.
Well, let's take an example. Maybe it's easier. Yes,
NLP.
or NLP. Yeah.
So I was guided to NLP. I didn't know I needed to learn it, but I learned it. But when I was in it, it's learning strategy. You have to learn A, B, C, D, different things. And different things are harder than other things to pick up on, you know, for me, you know. So I found submodalities a lot easier than some of those words and hypnotic speech and all of those things, you know, all the talk. Because to me, that didn't come very naturally at all. But to me, the visualization and that creativity, that I just got it like that. I loved it. So for me, it was learning. I have to learn the other stuff because it's part of the course. So it's little steps, A, B, C, D, da, 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 da. My main thing in life is I've never, ever done anything that I don't really, truly believe in. And even to the point that we created a couple of years ago, maybe 7 years ago now, we had, I've got 2 patents actually. I've got a patent and in USA and also the UK and European patent. We did a new, myself and my business partner at the time did a new technology that we launched. We got Coldplay were using it for their last album. I had all these massive stars. I met Stevie Wonder. All of these amazing people were using our technology or met us and used our technology, tried it or whatever. Had all these glowing reviews. And it got to the point where we actually went on Dragon's Den, which is a British TV show, yeah. And we got offered the investment, but unfortunately, what they wanted to do was, because our product was quite a high-end, a very high-end cable. It was the best quality ever. You couldn't surpass it. It was the perfect cable. That's what we invented. For 10 years, we invented this. 10 years on a journey. We got a couple of investments along the route. Dragon's Den, we realised that there was no market for the price point where it would be. There would have been a market, but not a big enough market. It wasn't mainstream. And what they needed to do was to lower the cost of it to make it a mass market. And at that point, I didn't want to do it anymore because it wasn't about the millions and millions of pounds for me. It wasn't about that. It was about what we had created, what we achieved. And so at that point, I let it all go. And I felt so much better because I was living in a world that I didn't fit in again. That whole thing with the whole body, you know, feeling that stress on the body. But as soon as I decided, if there's no market for what we're doing, what can we do? That's it. Let it go. Yeah. And I felt good. So that's what I mean. I don't do anything anymore. I don't think I've ever done anything that I don't feel good about. I just don't. I just won't do it. I have to feel good. I have to love it.
What would make you feel at the end of our journey here, your journey here on planet Earth, the day you decide to move on to different dimensions?
Yeah.
What would give you that feeling that you have accomplished your mission?
Yeah. The one thing that I want to do on this planet is to make a difference.
And will you be able to measure that? How will you recognize that you have made
I already am. I'm already making it. Because I'm on a journey. And every day I try and make a little bit more of a difference. But the thing is, to me, together we can make an even a bigger difference. So one person making a difference is important, but thousands of people together making a difference, well, that's pure power. And that's the kind of stuff that will change the world.
Well, you say that and it vibrates all over. I hope everybody can tune into that. So one last question. What do you think is the greatest gift that you can offer? What's the gift that you are?
Be the light. Be that match. Go next to the match. Be one of the lights. Yeah.
That's wonderful. You are a sparkle. Well, we just see the sparkle. I guess there's so much more underneath. So that's about it. I'm so glad we had this conversation, and it's really, truly so much that you shared with us. I'm really, really happy. Super. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.